the music staying on? Okay, thank you. Well, dear all, it's a great pleasure, a delight, I should say, to welcome you today again here in the theater at the Vrijthof to celebrate the opening of the academic year together. Most of you are watching the live stream of home, of course, but I'm very happy that we have also some of the audience here in the room. The fact that you and everybody else here today can celebrate with us is a much needed sign that things slowly are returning to what we used to call normal. I have had the honor of opening the academic year many times now, but never before has it felt, and I'm sure my colleagues Rianne and Nick feel the same way, that it's a sort of a new beginning, and a beginning with energy, ambition, and also aspiration. And speaking of aspiration, I would like to introduce to this audience again shortly our freshly launched strategic program 2022 to 2026, Maastricht University, the European University of the Netherlands.
Welcome to the European University of the Netherlands, Strategic Program 2022-2026, showing you who we are, what we stand for, and what we aim to develop and achieve in the coming period. Learn more about our mission, vision, and Maastricht University's added value from stakeholders and staff. We are a young and top-rated university at the heart of Europe, with an engaged and inclusive academic community making its mark on the EU region and beyond through practical, problem-based education and first-class research to meet the challenges that society is facing. Check out the interviews with executive and senior staff. For example, with Martin Paul on why has a distinct European focus. We hope that this online guide to our strategic program will give you a clear picture of our plans and ambitions for the next few years. Want to see more and navigate your way through the interactive video? Check out our website. Here you can also read and download the full version of the strategic program in PDF format. A European university with a global impact.
Okay, this was a short preview, and I'm sure you will look further on our homepage to dive into it. It's quite worth to look into our aspirations and the plans for the next years. But the opening of this academic year is our topic, of course, and it's a special one. And I think we're also looking ahead to a special academic year with a mix of on-campus and virtual activities. And though I think optimism helps, and I'm cautiously optimistic that hopefully in this academic year, we really can open more and can come together even more than now. But without doubt, we have to follow for a while the restrictions and regulation that the COVID pandemic puts on us for a while. And so in a way, I think this, when I come to the topic of this opening, transforming universities, I think this pandemic certainly has transformed not only society, but also the university community as a whole. But in the topic, transforming universities, we didn't want to reflect on the pandemic, but why transformation is an important topic for universities, and I see three dimensions. First, the university itself. I think as a university in these times of geopolitical, economical, and social unrest, we need to create a transformative atmosphere. And we need to strive to evolve and transform ourselves as an academic community. Our new strategic program just attempts to do this, and it's a program that has developed with the community itself, inside and outside the university. I think it gives a good stimulus in how our university can be a transformative agent for our own organization by listening to our challenges and plan ahead. Secondly, I believe that universities have also a role to transform society by disseminating true knowledge, not fake news and alternative facts, but also by providing a learning environment for young people and serving society to help develop itself further. Our university will continue to be a motor of transformation for Limburg and beyond, as we have shown over the last years. For example, with the establishment of the Brightland campuses in the triple or quadruple helix spirit, but also by reaching out to our citizens in Maastricht and beyond. And I just would like to name the Maastricht Working on Euro program and the Youth Alliance that tries to really transform the idea of how universities work together in Europe to become true European universities. Last not least, transformation also needs to be carried out by people. And of course I can't call them transformers because that would remind us of a movie with some very ugly robots, but let's call them transforming agents. People who stand up, energize and move the process forward. They can be found in all corners of the university, staff, students, and even university leadership, but they're also partners who work with us across the community, both local and global. Today is therefore, most of all, a celebration and recognition of exemplary persons who are these transforming agents that we need in this change process. If we continue to work across these three dimensions, transforming ourselves, our surroundings, as well, continuing to be a community of and for transforming agents, we can be optimistic indeed about the future, our own and that of our surroundings. I believe that Maastricht University should and will carry on with a strong international profile as a caring university and with a strong European focus. That does not mean splendid isolation and being an institution with a narrow-minded view. We will look at, interpret, and influence the world from a platform in the heart of Europe. Our expertise, the composition of our student and staff body is well positioned to carry this process further. I'm therefore confident that this university will look back in 5 years at the time of our 10th lustrum and become 50 years of age to a period where we have used our transformative power successfully and in service of society. But as I said earlier, our ceremony is also a celebration of people. People who are examples of transforming agents, people who stand up to their principles to serve the community and fight for positive change. I'm therefore proud to announce the main speaker of our opening event before we move on to other speakers and of course the honorary doctorate that we confer today. I would like to introduce our speaker, Mamokgethi Phakeng. She's speaking to us directly from Cape Town, South Africa, by direct video link because unfortunately due to COVID she couldn't travel here. I have to get to know Gethi from our interaction in the WUN University network, and I have been impressed by her vision, her clear message, her fearlessness, but also by her biography, where she's a true role model to many. Her message is a universal one, and we Europeans should listen more frequently and learn from leaders that come from outside the bubble of the so-called Western world. Connecting us to the world means open exchange, mutual understanding, and reciprocity of concepts, also in academia. As I understand, Gethi will focus on the notion that transformation is not possible without being disruptive. You have to unbalance things to make transformations happen and can do that by avoiding pain occasionally. But without further ado, I would like to start the program by showing a short introduction video about our distinguished speaker, followed by her virtual address.
Mamokgethi Phakeng is a South African professor of mathematics and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Town. Like a partner of the Worldwide Universities Network. Professor Phakeng is a highly regarded scholar with more than 80 research papers and 5 edited volumes to her time. She has delivered over 30 keynote speeches at international conferences and has served as a visiting professor at universities around the world. In 2004, Professor Phakeng founded the non-profit organization Adopt a Learner, This charity provides financial support for learners from township and rural areas, helping them to gain additional schooling and prepare for higher education. Pekang has won numerous awards for her research and community work, including the Order of Baobab, conferred on her by the South African president in April 2016. In 2014, CEO magazine named her the most influential female academic in Africa. And in 2016, she was awarded the prestigious Businesswoman of the Year award in the education category. Professor Pekang understands like no other the impact of continuously innovating and transforming universities. Although we would have loved to welcome her in person, we are honored to have her deliver this online address.
For that kind introduction, Professor Dr. Paul and the members of the Executive Board, staff members and students, it is such a pleasure and a privilege to address you today at the start of a new academic year at Maastricht University. I wish I were there. I hope one day I get an opportunity to visit you and spend time with you in that hall. New beginnings are always significant. We must approach them with expectation, anticipation, based on what we think we know about the future we are entering. Or we may approach them with anxiety or even fear, and these feelings are often based on what we don't know. COVID-19 has plunged the whole world into a season of unknowns. But that is the only shadow on our future. A Google search of the phrase "don't know" in international news items for 1st September 2021 yielded about 50,000 results addressing issues as diverse as economics, safety and security, the law, sexuality, health, fashion, agriculture, entertainment, parenting, technology, education, to name just a few. In many cases, the phrase "don't know" was in the headline of the news article. This is just one illustration of the uncertainty that hangs over our lives. Every unknown has the potential to unsettle us. But if we choose to unsettle ourselves, that is a different matter, because nothing outside can unsettle us if we have already unsettled ourselves, because then we are exercising our power to make disruptive choices. And a university environment is the perfect place to develop our disruptive potential, because universities are places of ideas and innovation. Your university is a place where you can take the knowledge that we already have about a particular subject and combine it with new insights and knowledge from other disciplines to develop a more holistic approach to solving the massive problems the world is facing, as well as the unique, more localized problems our societies and neighboring communities face. In 2018, very soon after I became Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Town, we established the Futures Think Tank to consider how best to prepare our university and South Africa for the potential changes that the fourth industrial revolution may bring. We concluded that as an institution, we must disrupt ourselves. We mustn't wait to be disrupted. And I guess it's because of the experience that we had from 2015 to 2017 and early 2018, that I said to colleagues, you know, we've made so many changes since the disruptions of 2015 to 2017. Moving into the future, perhaps we should disrupt ourselves and not wait to be disrupted. And we must encourage the higher education sector to be disruptive. Either we recognize that change is here, that it is necessary, and we steer that change to help South Africa, the African continent, the world through the future, or we lose the initiative that is available to us now. If we do not create the disruption to guide it, the truth of the matter is we may be disrupted. As educators, we know our world is in great need of change. And I hope that you students who are listening right now share that recognition with my academic colleagues and want to be part of the solution. We are facing global-sized problems. COVID-19 is, of course, a critical concern, but it is not only one, it is only one of the many health risks that we face around the world. We also need to address climate change and sustainability of energy resources, poverty and inequality, even in more affluent countries, gender inequality and sexual and gender-based violence, the migration of people from areas of war and economic need, urbanization and strain upon infrastructure and resources like water, electricity, housing, waste disposal and roads, and the general collapse of public trust in leadership, which suggests that most people no longer believe that national presidents, chief executives, or even university vice chancellors are credible anymore. We also recognize that whom we lead has changed. The young people and the people we lead generally in our universities today are very different from those we led 10, 15 years ago. We now lead what I call Generation C, which is not an age group, Generation C, but it is a powerful new force in consumer culture. It is a technology-driven or technology-based generation, which embraces a set of attitudes, values, and behaviors that are completely different from traditional views, especially in the Western world. More than 90% of Generation C sleep next to their smartphone. They inhabit the world of videos, memes, mashups, and social media. They eat, sleep, and breathe the internet. Social media is their language, and there are students, our alumni, staff members, donors, and collaborators. The mindset they promote is characterized by very simply as putting people and the planet ahead of all other goals, including profit. As a leader, I want to understand and get to know this generation better. And so that's why I'm active on social media, not only to talk to Generation C, but also to observe and listen to their message to each other and to us, their parents and teachers and leaders. And of course, being a vice chancellor on social media and doing the things that I'm doing, it's somewhat disruptive. The message, however, that I hear when I'm there, that resounds through these millions of communications is change or transformation. But let's face it, transformation is not easy. It is hard. So I just want to look at just 3 reasons why transformation is so hard. First is that transformation is a system problem. Organizations, institutions, groups of people, and even individuals strive for congruence. And congruency means that organizations are designed to produce the results they are getting. Somewhere inside all organizations, there has to be someone or a system that is satisfied with the current results of the organization. If not, the organization will transform very quickly. Take, for example, while a particular promotion policy based on seniority might make it difficult to put the most qualified person in the job, the Human Resources Department might want the seniority system to stay because of its simplicity and defensibility. Another example is that of UCT, which has been the top university on the continent. But transformation has been very slow. We've started moving faster, but it's been very slow over the years, and we get criticized all the time. And when I took office, I wondered why. And this is because some people within the university have an idea that if we transform, then we will lose the excellence. That's congruency, right? In their view, it is the very thing that makes the University of Cape Town successful, which has slowed down transformation over the years. And so they put transformation and excellence in competition. And this creates cognitive dissonance. Individuals cannot hold 2 contradictory ideas in their head. The dissonance would produce stress. Thus, if an individual wants to lose weight, for example, or make money, make more money, or attract a better mate, or yet they cannot, then there must be a reason for their inability to transform. These often subconscious reasons could be that they do not want to give up the social aspect of eating. For example, if they want to lose weight, but they are not willing to give up the social aspect of eating out. That makes it difficult to lose weight. Or they do not want to deal with the added stress that comes with a higher paying job. Or they want to maintain their dominant role in their current relationship if it's about attracting a mate. Many individuals, like institutions, say they want to transform, but in reality, due to the current congruence in the organization, they do not. Often, what they pronounce about transformation is not true transformation. I have not heard any university or any company that says they are totally against transformation. The second reason that transformation is hard is that, universities, businesses, families, and governments do not transform. It is people within these organizations that actually transform. When making transformation efforts, we often look at the key component of transformation. We often overlook the key component of transformation, the individuals involved in the process. It is people who make cars and computers. It is people who have conversations and interactions in families. And it is also people who teach and do research in our universities. If you want better results, you have to get those results, not from the university, but from the people within the university. Think about a soccer team. If a soccer team is losing games and you want them to be a better team, what advice would you give them? You would not build a better stadium or buy different soccer balls or different new kits for them. It wouldn't change anything. You would try to improve each soccer player's skill and desire to become a better player. Yet in organizations, it seems like we do everything but address the skills and desires of our employees. Of course, it is true that sometimes tools, technologies, and methodologies are needed for transformation. However, when used alone, they are insufficient and often move the organization backward. UCT offers, for example, the best financial aid in South Africa, and we've always done that over the years. However, our university became the center of the Fees Must Fall protest between 2015 to 2017. In 2015, the protest started with Rhodes Must Fall, and then they moved on 2016 to Fees Must Fall, and UCT was the epicenter. And one wonders why. And here's the thing, while providing financial aid, Fees Must Fall was basically about, we want free education. And at UCT, if a student is poor, but they have succeeded in being admitted, the guarantee was, we will sort out the fees. You just come and study. But here's the thing, whilst providing financial aid to students from low socioeconomic backgrounds is important, it is not sufficient for transformation. In fact, it creates more of a problem because while the support allows more poor students into the university, the environment continued to treat them like they are done a favor. And so they must be grateful, assimilate, graduate, and leave. And that's what created the resentment and anger and thus protest. And so I came to UCT in June 2016, and it was surprising when I asked the students, but what's your problem? You're getting everything. And they said, well, that's not what we're talking about. Don't try to shut us up with paying our fees. We don't want to be assimilated into the culture of the institution. They wanted the culture of the institution to be transformed. That's not easy. The third reason that transformation is hard is that transformation is a heart conversation. It's a heart conversation and not a head conversation. People know they should transform, but for some reason they do not. If you were to ask people how their university could be transformed to be more inclusive, more people will give you a lot of ideas. People have a lot of ideas out there. They may say they need to set up a graduate development program for newly qualified graduates from designated groups, and so on and so on. The creativity would go on. And if you were to ask them, how would that kind of transformation be beneficial for the university? They would also list many areas of improvement. Improvement of the university's competitive edge, creativity, growth in the quality and impact of our research, and the kinds of graduates we would produce. Yet, when they are asked if they're actually making these improvements, the same people will usually say no. And again, they'd have many reasons as to why they are not able to transform. So if people know what to transform, but are not working on making the transformation, the question is why? And answering this question is not going to come through education, knowledge, or reasoning. This is because transformation is as much an emotional issue as it is a mental issue. People are comfortable in their comfort zone. Herbert Simon, an American economist and political scientist and cognitive psychologist, calls this phenomenon satisficing. Instead of striving for the best outcome or the best solution, we base our decisions upon what is acceptable. After all, our current situation is always acceptable, because if it were not, we wouldn't be in it. What satisficing does is that it lowers the probability of transformation. Notice that I said our current situation is always acceptable, not effective, not successful, just acceptable. Also, the congruency of the organization offers a known level of comfort to the organization or institution. Transformation represents the unknown. So it's scary, and thus people are often afraid of what life would be like if things were done differently. And that's why every time in a university you get an unusual leader, maybe like myself, too small, too black, too female, too this, there's always a little bit of a shake-up, because people are wondering, how would things be done differently? What is this different? Will we lose our standing as the best university on the continent? Will we lose our market share? The bottom line is that with recognition comes comfort of accepting the status quo. It is as if we have to fail or be thrown into major disruption for transformation to happen. And that is why I'm saying to you today, if transformation is going to happen, then we are going to have to disrupt ourselves. Because if we do not disrupt ourselves, then we will be disrupted. Because it's when disruption happens that we get shaken out of our comfort zones, and then we think outside the box, and then we might just do things differently. And this is exactly what I said to the UCT community when I took office in July 2018. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was a necessary conversation. And I want to show you a slide just quickly that I showed to my colleagues who at UCT many years ago, well, in 2018, when I said to them, let's think about disrupting ourselves. And I challenged them to go with me into the discomfort zone, into the state of discomfort. I made them aware that actually we have been enjoying the luxury of being comfortable as a university. We've been so in the state of comfort, in the comfort zone, that people were scared to be in the discomfort zone. And what happened with the protest of 2015 to 2017 is that the university was thrown into the alarm zone. They were in this alarm zone. And the alarm zone is overwhelming, it's difficult, it is terrifying. And so a lot of people were traumatized. Lots of students dropped out. But we don't have to wait for the alarm zone. We can take ourselves to the discomfort zone. And in the discomfort zone, there's challenges, it is a little bit scary, but it's interesting. We are alert because we are in a discomfort zone. The danger is being in the state of comfort. That is undesirable because once we get into the state of comfort, then we stand the risk to be disrupted ourselves. And we at UCT began the development of our Vision 2030 with a simple question. The world is changing. Are we? And I mean, if you're a new VC who hasn't been at the university long enough, it's quite tricky, you know, because people in the university say we are a top performing university. And of course, every ranking tells you so. But here's the thing. It is so easy to be comfortable in our success and never change whilst the world is changing around us. And that's why I said to my colleagues, the world is changing. Are we? How long are the things that we're doing? How long have we been doing them? After investigations into the likely scenarios of what the rapid changes in our world were bringing and would bring, we realized that our choice was simple: to disrupt ourselves or be disrupted. But disruption doesn't have to be a negative action. Instead of having a vision statement, we decided that we're going to have a somewhat disruptive statement, and we called it a massive transformative purpose for our Vision 2030. And so our massive transformative purpose is unleash human potential for a fair and just society. And this massive transformative purpose was debated hotly because some members of my leadership said, but this doesn't sound like a university. Obviously, we can't change the whole of society. Of course we can't. But if we do not put our eyes there, we might just rest in our comfort. But the truth is, we are constantly unleashing human potential as universities. And so we've got to ask ourselves, why and to what end? And so we agreed on we are unleashing human potential for a fair and just society. That's what we want. Because we see disruption's potential to change the world for the better. And this new institutional strategy is built around 3 pillars. And these 3 pillars are fundamental to UCT's academic project. And I want to share them also a little bit here. The 3 pillars are excellence, transformation, and sustainability. Excellence, which is our commitment to the highest standards of scholarship and research. Transformation, which is our commitment to include a diversity of voices and perspectives in our definition and presentation of excellence. And sustainability, which is our commitment towards the long-term future of UCT, and in that way, towards the future of Africa and the world. None of these pillars, I argued to colleagues, can stand alone. At UCT, we recognize that excellence without transformation, or excellence without the transformative power of diversity, can and will exclude marginalized people, and it will reinforce the narrow ways of thinking that we are trying to disrupt. And similarly, transformation needs excellence to produce lasting change and solutions that will take us into the future. Sustainability relies on these two pillars, transformation and excellence, to provide a stable platform where the university can grow. Vision 2030 focuses on UCT's identity as a global university in Africa that is committed to unleashing human potential across Africa to create a fair and just society. To unleash our potential, we need to recognize, identify, and address the ways we have leashed our potential as human beings. Because when we limit our potential as individuals, we also limit the potential of organizations we work at and of entire sectors and disciplines. So in our journey to unleash human potential, we recognized that we need to disrupt the old ways that are limiting that potential. And this requires us to look into what we do, how we do it, and to have the courage to explore how we can introduce new ways of teaching, learning, and research. It also requires us to be open to the idea of dissent, to the practice of hearing and considering different voices, even when it may be uncomfortable, especially when it is uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable voices may be the ones we need to hear most. We need to take the time to understand what is being said by the dissenters and why. Universities in particular need to teach and practice the importance of listening and hearing other points of views. And this year, 2021, I launched a Vice Chancellor's series, conversation series that's called Inviting Dissent, which I hope will become a platform for new thinkers to discuss their views of the world and perhaps shake us out of our comfort zone. And when I introduced it, my colleagues in the executive were quite worried when I talked to them about it. They thought, who are these dissenters? Who are you going to bring? And I said, you know, we'll bring these dissenters. You will see them when they come. They are going to make us uncomfortable. But that's the reason why we are bringing them in. And I said to them, you know, we have to do that because if we do not bring them into the boardroom to hear them, they will tell us exactly the same thing at the picket line. If we don't want to hear it through a protest or through a shutdown, then we must bring them into the conversation in the boardroom. And that's what dissenting voices are about. And the first guest speaker is an activist who leads and is co-founder of an organization called Fossil Free South Africa. It's a climate change volunteer association that has been agitating for the University of Cape Town to disinvest from fossil fuel companies since 2014, before I even came to this university. And when I came in, of course, the issues were there. And everyone says, yeah, you know, we care for the environment, but the decision is not made. But since then, we decided to launch the University Panel for Responsible Investment. And that panel has been hard at work. And by next month, we will present a responsible and sustainable investment policy for approval by Council. We are on a journey to disinvestments. From a point where they didn't want to be heard to now having, contributing to policy and getting us on a journey. And we are the first university in South Africa to get on this journey of disinvestments, and we aim to influence other universities. Not an easy journey at all. And of course, since I started this conversation series, we've had 4 so far. Initially, I said to colleagues, we'll have only 3. But after the 3rd, I got emails and calls and professors and members of council and many other of our committees saying, we've got to go on more. There's so much to learn. These people are telling us things that we don't know. Even, the last one, which happened about 3 weeks ago, I invited a former CEO who's done an analysis of financial sustainability of universities in South Africa, just to shake us out of our comfort zones about how we spend our money when we have conversations. And it was incredibly interesting how everyone engaged, but everyone valued that conversation, particularly happening before we get into our budget conversation, because we'll get into that. No holy cows. Everything can be spoken about. But dissenting voices are about making space for voices that we don't always like to hear, that think differently from us, that want things to be done differently, and often are at odds with us. We bring them into the boardroom to engage with. And my view is that shouting a slogan or making an argument that is louder than anyone else's, gathering a crowd that is larger and noisier than anyone else's, or using a position of power to silence an opposing view is not building our society or our ability to face the unknown. Universities have a responsibility to help not only students, but also academics and other professionals to be comfortable with the concept and practice of debate, dissent, and collegial disagreement, and most important, listening. This means that we need to make room for different voices to have a platform. This is why we have student representatives on committees and working groups that advise the universities on things like how to name buildings, or how we change our curriculum, or how we display and curate artworks, because these things contribute to how students feel about the university environment and their place in the institution. I know that this is something that Professor Martin has driven as well. Him having been the president of the Worldwide Universities Networks and coming to our conferences annually with students whilst I was Deputy Vice Chancellor, I thought that's what we need in universities, not to have students being closed off to some of these discussions that we have. The more they know about what the conversations are about, the more they can understand the struggles of leadership and leading in an uncertain and rapidly changing world as ours. So thank you for the role modeling, Martin. One of the uncomfortable topics that arose early in the student protest that happened at the University of Cape Town in 2015 was the call to decolonize the curriculum in higher education. This was part of the transformation core at UCT. The members of our rather conservative, mostly white and male College of Fellows were particularly bothered late in 2017. I wasn't Vice Chancellor yet, and they were bothered when one of the professors invited a controversial speaker on campus to speak about decolonizing science. This was an initiative of the UCT's Curriculum Change Working Group, a team that included members of the executive, students, and academics. I was Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Internationalization at the time, but the issue kept brewing and brewing until I got appointed for the job in 2018. The issue was still brewing. When I took office, one of the things that my predecessor handed over to me was this massive issue. And he said to me, the College of Fellows is absolutely outraged by that invitation. They want an apology. They're demanding an apology, and you have to handle that. And I thought, an apology? Come on, this is a university. You can't apologize for someone who was invited to the university and they happen to have a divergent view that doesn't agree with many of us in the university. I didn't agree with him, the person who was invited. But whether I agree with him or not is neither here nor there. They've got a right and the freedom to state what they think. And I didn't even think that's the blueprint for decolonization. So I decided, after my predecessor left, I decided I've got to deal with this matter differently. I noticed, of course, our more traditional thinking academics are in the College of Fellows, because this is people who have established themselves as world-leading scholars. And so in my first meeting, I said to them, first item on the agenda, we've got this debate It's on the agenda from the previous conversations of decolonization. And I know that you're not happy. What are we going to do about it? They said, apologize. I said, we don't do that. So I asked them, 2 of you in this room who want to talk to this issue of decolonization, because here we are making an assumption that we all agree on what this is and what it entails. And of course, oftentimes outside the College of Fellows meetings, when the debates about decolonization happen, they're always polarized. They're polarized between black and white. It's like black people want decolonization, white people don't. But then in the College of Fellows, it's majority white, it's majority male, there's a few women, and on that day, the 2 black people who are fellows were not there. I was the only one. And I said to them, 2 people, we'll give you time to prepare. The next meeting we meet, we'll talk about it. And so 2 senior academics in our Faculty of Science agreed, volunteered, and the next meeting, they came prepared, and they are both male. And they stood up to present their views. Sort of their views about decolonization, their understanding, and how they view the current decolonization project in South Africa. And they were dismayed. Both of them felt that this is going to destroy the university. It shouldn't be done. They trashed it, and we gave them a chance to do that. When they finished, I said to the rest of the fellows, what do you think? And what happened was absolutely interesting, because suddenly there are no black people in the room. I'm the only one, and I'm chairing. The debate started separating between women and men. Duh. And at some point I stopped them and I said to them, did you just notice what happened? And one of them, who's a psychologist, said, I noticed, and it's very embarrassing. It should never get out of this meeting. And I said to them, why do we think it's happening here? But when we are outside the meeting, it's sort of racially polarized. Here, it's polarized along gender lines. And again, they all agreed it's about hierarchy of knowledge, about inequality, about whatever. And that brought a very rich conversation. And we had the following meeting, new presenters, and temperatures were starting to come down, and people were debating without fighting. And then when we finished, I said to them, now you as senior scholars understand decolonization debate. It's not an evangelism. It's not a thing to evangelize on. And you understand it, so you can go out and start conversations that are productive, that can lead to something, that are not polarizing. And many of them, all of them actually, appreciated that. The issue of the apology, out of the window. Nobody wanted the apology anymore, because now we understand why the decolonization project, we understood it better. There was an understanding of the different views of decolonization and why, where they emerged from, and what we can do as a university. But one of the things that happened at that moment was the fact that the College of Fellows felt seen by me, and they felt important and an important part of the process, particularly because outside their meetings, they are seen as people who are anti-transformation. And suddenly here they are in the room, and they are seen as people actually who can make a contribution in that conversation, a productive contribution that is not polarizing. One step, we keep going. But the world that we live in today, the truth is it doesn't know how to disagree. So we need, the whole world, our world, needs to learn how to live with differences of opinion, how to find the middle ground between opposing ideas, and how to work with people who disagree with us, even when we cannot find that middle ground. Our history under apartheid did not allow here in South Africa for much debate on critical issues. So it is a skill we need to reintroduce. But of course, if you think about it, the history of the world is the history of coloniality, of conquest, of some nation ruling over another. So the idea of differing with people, particularly who look different, who think different, is not always easy. But this is also a concept that needs to be put in practice across the world of social media. The world of social media doesn't even know how to discuss. Too often public opinion is swayed by the number of likes or retweets, or likes a statement receives on Twitter, rather than by rigorous investigation and argument. And I believe that it is the job of higher education to disrupt ways of thinking and doing things in our society. And we can start by disrupting education itself, ourselves, how we educate, how we measure the outcomes of what we do. And Maastricht University introduced a form of disruption, I think, when you pioneered the problem-based learning education model in Europe. That was a bit of a disruption. And we have a young professor here from India, Associate Professor Sudesh Sivarasu. He's the head of UCT's Medical Devices Lab, and he teaches his postgraduate course on medical device design with just one requirement for passing. There are no tests, there are no assignments. The student must develop a medical device that successfully solves a specific problem. In this way, students are trained on next-generation problem-solving techniques, and they gain experience in working within stringent industry requirements. And students are given an opportunity to go have discussions with clinicians about the needs out there. And successful students can then file patent applications for the products they have developed, or start up new businesses based on their course projects, or publish in peer-reviewed publications, or do all of those. So their pass is having a device that works. One of the open source innovations they produced is now used in 13 countries across the world. And this is a positive disruption. Innovations at UCT, of course, include Africa's only Hasso-Plattner School of Design Thinking, or the D School, and some of you will know that, which works across all faculties to develop creative or disruptive thinking and teamwork. And when it started, by the way, there were many people who didn't want the design thinking school. But one of the concepts we need to disrupt as educators is the idea of training graduates in a single discipline. And Maastricht University is also disrupting this idea. We know that climate change, for example, involves not only many different branches of science, but also economic decisions, legal decisions, transport decisions, how we build our homes and our own resources. For years now, we've been exploring ways to decolonize our curriculum and our pedagogy, to allow those who are first-generation university students at UCT, as well as staff members, to feel that they can relate to what they are learning, how they are learning it, and the general culture and environment of the university. And I'm especially concerned that we challenge our assumptions about higher education and research beyond the university. When UCT researchers this year held a webinar around the theme, Unleashing Knowledge in and for Africa, I suggested to them that we expand that theme to say unleashing knowledge in for Africa and with Africans. In other words, engaging people outside of the research community, co-creating with them the knowledge that we glean from our work in their communities. Saving Africa is something UCT has been doing for years. We are Africa's top-rated university, among the top 1.4% universities around the world. In the context of global university rankings, our excellence is beyond question. But as I have said, unless our excellence is working hand in hand with transformation, it will not make a real sustainable difference in people's lives. And that is why we are pursuing a new vision that's centered around the 3 pillars of excellence, transformation, and sustainability. For knowledge and research to be sustainable, marginalized people around us need to experience the effect of that research and that excellence. They have to feel it in their lives, experience it in their lives and in the lives of those around them. But universities can go further in advancing research as a tool for transforming societies around them. People who may never set foot on our campuses, for example, need to know that research is good for them. They also need to realize that they can play an important role in the research process. By working with researchers and academics, they can transform their own lives. UCT has research and community service facilities all around the Cape Flats and in Cape Town in general. In 2019, we launched our cutting-edge aerobiology TB research facility in Masiphumelele, an amazing facility located right in an informal settlement community, working with people who live there. But I have challenged my colleagues, and I said to them, challenging them earlier this year, it's great the work that we're doing with communities. And I said to them, just imagine if one of the women who we work with in one of our facilities was given an opportunity to speak in her own voice during a conference presentation of the work that you are doing with them. Just imagine how transformative that would be, not only in their lives, but in their view of the university. And this could be another way of empowering these communities, building capacity and giving them an opportunity to participate in their own transformation. As the inequality gap grows wider, we need to use every opportunity to bridge that gap. Caring for the poor must be a longer-term vision, not just in Africa or the global south, but in every continent, because in almost every country, people are becoming poorer and the inequality gap is growing. Even in countries that are committed to supporting the poor, poverty is growing, in part because of refugee poverty. The Borgen Project reported in 2020 that about 2.5 million people in the Netherlands, or about 14%, live below the poverty line. The fight against poverty and inequality must benefit not just us, but also future generations. The World Bank recognized this need 21 years ago, and I want to draw to the close. They published a volume entitled Voices of the Poor. Can anyone hear us? The book compiles the stories of 40,000 people from 50 poor countries. Most of them said at the time, and that was the year 2000, they said that they felt they were much worse off than in the past decades. Imagine what they must feel today if they felt much worse off back in 2000. James Wilferson, who was president of the World Bank at the time, wrote in his introduction of the book, what is it that the poor people reply when asked what might make the greatest difference in their lives? They say, organizations of their own so that they may negotiate with government, with traders, and with non-governmental organizations. Direct assistance through community-driven programs so that they may shape their own destinies. Local ownership of funds so that they may put a stop to corruption. They want non-governmental organizations and governments to be accountable to them. These are strong voices. They are voices of dignity. As researchers and teachers, we can disrupt our old ways of doing things to let those voices of dignity be heard in the places where we are seen to be representing them. I think that can be a powerful way of saying this is knowledge, not only in and for Africa, but co-created with Africa. Disruption is really just another term for transformation, for helping one another to become the best that we can be. This is a process that never ends. It means disrupting the assumptions we make about ourselves and others that limit what we all can become. That is one of the advantages of the recent student protests across the world. They are forcing us to examine our assumptions as educators. I believe our opportunity as educators is to disrupt the assumptions by which we teach and learn. Universities can help shape how our changing world will affect us, how we in turn can help society to thrive as a result. As universities nurture the interaction of different ideas, different voices, different ways of thinking, the disruption of traditions, that no longer have meaning in our lives, we help to celebrate the richness and diversity of our humanity. By creating spaces for dissent and engagement, we make space for society to grow. And in that growth, we strengthen ourselves and each other to be able to view uncertainty with confidence, knowing that whatever our circumstances may be, we will have the resources to help each other to thrive. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm going to stay on in the whole event because I'm booked that way. I feel really honored, and I look forward to enjoying the rest of the afternoon today, even with my little knowledge of Afrikaans and Dutch. Thank you very much.
Dear Professor Patheng, thank you so much for what has been a beautiful keynote. I'm Director Magnificus of the university, and it would have been such a pleasure to meet you here in real life. And I think many of your lessons will be in our minds, not only today, during the opening of the academic year, but during the entire year and well beyond. And as you know, the Dutch culture is a consensus-based culture. So yes. I will remember the word you coined, satisfy sing, because many times when we meet with our management team, university council, you name it, that's often what we do. We try to seek consensus. But you've learned us today, let's disrupt. Let's be more disruptive and not let us be surprised by the disruptions that is facing us. So thank you so much for your lessons, and also thank you for being here with us tomorrow, where our students and staff can profit much more again from all your beautiful insights. And please join us for the rest of the ceremony. Okay, everyone still with us? We are going to continue right away with our program, because we have actually quite a special ceremony today. It's an opening of the academic year, but we are also going to acknowledge the achievements of some of our colleagues and students that we would normally do during the anniversary of the university, which is the Dies Natalis. Now, last January, when we have our Dies, we could not invite more than one person in the church where we do that. And that looked so sad, so we said, let's not do that. Let's hope that during the opening of the academic year, we can invite a few more people so that we can give the honor and the acknowledgement to those persons in real life. And that's why the session of today is a little bit longer, but since for more than 1.5 years you have not been in an audience, we believe that we can take this time from you, okay? And we promise there will be some refreshments soon after. Now, good things are honestly worth waiting for, and that really applies to this year's presentation of the 2020 Wienand Wijnen Education Prize. As I said, it couldn't take place during the last Dies. Now, at Maastricht University, as you all may know, we truly honor the achievements of our staff in the field of education. And that's also why we have installed this prize, to honor members of staff who've made an exceptional contribution to education. Now, the winner, or rather the winners, are highlighted in the video, which we are going to watch now. And it's presented by the chair of the jury, our dean, Christine Neuhold of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences.
The Wienand Wijnen Education Prize is a prize to reward those in education for all the outstanding efforts that they have made, either online or live. The prize this year goes to the heads of the bureaus of education of all 6 faculties of Maastricht University. This is very special because it is a crisis year and these people really made a difference. 2020 for the UM started with a cyber hack. Without the heads of student support offices, we would have not been able to navigate this crisis. The second crisis, and we're still in the crisis, is of course the COVID-19 pandemic, which meant that we had to change our way of teaching from one day to the next. We had to go online. And without these people, we would have not been able to pull education off. And here, these people were fundamental in us being able to execute our education. And I think it's important to note that this prize was not only awarded to the heads, but to everybody that works in the educational field.
Well said, Christine. Congratulations to everyone working at our bureaus of education who are represented by their heads. Now, please come to the stage. Not sure where I'm seeing them now being seated. I start with Joël Kastermans from SBE, followed by Katharine Kerkman from FPN, René Nijsse from FHML, Colin Krampeler from FASOS, Roel Gillissen from Law, and Judith Buddenberg from FSE. Be careful with the stairs. Please, a little bit with the distance in mind. Don't go so to the back. Stay a little bit with us, so that we can also make some nice pictures in a moment. Ah, how good it is that you are here on stage with us. Now, you will share the prize, you know that, we're a modest university, which means that the little sculpture that comes with it will have to move from one bureau to the other, but that's good, it will keep the connection between the two of you. And also here you can see on the next slide the members of the jury who decided to give this prize. It's really quite a historical moment because it's the first time that 6 people together get this prize, and also 6 people working in the educational services. And I think that is really so well deserved. But I will read also a little bit from the jury report so that you know why they came to this decision. So according to the jury, the winners' contributions are fundamental and essential, but perhaps not always very glamorous. The spotlight rarely reaches those working every day behind the scenes. We always get the stage and the attention as academics, but people behind the scenes are often not on the stages where they should be as well. And yet, this is where absolutely a lot of the essential work is being done. The people in the engine room provide the stability and the continuity which allow new ideas and innovation to take place. So as Christine already said, during both these crises, the cyber hack and this whole 1.5 year of COVID, these 6 people standing here and their teams, I have to acknowledge also the teams behind them, they proved to be reliable partners in problem solving, troubleshooting and improvising on an everyday basis. And it's safe to say that without their involvement, both students and teaching staff would not have been able to continue with their daily business. So while the 6 winners here might not be in the classroom, they provide a stable foundation and guidance to our daily processes. Now, we don't take this framework of educational logistics for granted, especially not after this year. And with this acknowledgement, we want to show our appreciation for your professionalism and your dedication. And also from my personal, we've been working so close together in this last 1.5 year. It's an absolute, well, it's been a great experience to work so closely with all of you. And the meetings with the COOL platform, as we call it, are the ones that bring so much energy. So thank you also for me, from my personal note. So congratulations with winning the 2020 Wienand Weiden Education Prize. A big applause from our audience. Now, considering it's COVID, they have to take their own flowers and also the certificate that goes with it. So if you, Catherine, you go first, you take a bouquet of flowers, and also, yeah, I'm sorry, we have to stick to the rules. and then you come back, and also your the nomination. And maybe you also take the sculpture with you. So the Faculty of Psychology gets the sculpture first. Since she's also been chairing the cool meetings, up till now.
Thank you very much.
Maar je blijft staan, hè? And now there's going to be a challenge for our photographer, because with 1.5 meter distance, we would like to have all of you on the camera. I will go a little bit behind you in the middle, and then let's see what he makes of it. Yes, it's okay? Wonderful. Again, a warm applause, and thank you again so much. Now, in much the same way, we also have to make up for lost time to honor the winners of the 2020 Dissertation Prize and the 2020 Edmund Hustings Prize. Now, again, you can see the names of the jury on the slide behind of me, but let's also do some virtual time travel with the help of a gadget, and I'm always terrible with gadgets. It's a time bot, and watch the presentation of last year's awards. Let's see if this is going to work. Here you see the names of the jury members. I hope I'm pressing the right button. Yes, here it is coming. Let's see if I get it up. Yes, I'm not so good in this. Yes, there it goes.
Let's fly over to the Faculty of Law to meet the winner of the 2020 Maastricht University Dissertation Prize, Matteo Benelli.
I'm very honored, humbled, and grateful for the Dissertation Prize of 2020. My thesis looked at the role of the European Union in addressing a so-called constitutional crisis in its member states. So the idea for the thesis came from the events, especially in Hungary, where we know that the government has introduced measures, for example, reducing judicial independence and attacking independent institutions. In Poland, more or less the same thing has happened, and then I look at how the European Union can respond to those events and safeguard its basic values: democracy, the rule of law, and human rights. The solution will only come from a combination of judicial and non-judicial political mechanisms, better monitoring by the European Union, and it is only if all institutions become involved in the debate at the EU level that we can actually better safeguard democracy and the rule of law in the member states. But I want to stress that there is no silver bullet, there is no magic trick for protecting those basic values of the EU project.
Matteo wrote an outstanding and accessible thesis on how to safeguard the rule of law and standards of democracy in the member states of the European Union. His approach to this issue of profound societal interest is truly interdisciplinary, using legal, social, and historical perspectives. The crisis concerning the rule of law that has emerged in recent years required constant topical adaptation, but the project, nevertheless, resulted in a thorough analysis and a well-balanced personal vision on future EU actions. Congratulations, Matteo. Our journey continues. Let's now meet the 2020 winner of the prestigious Edmund Hustings Prize for Science, Lara Winans.
This award means very much to me. My research was about data-driven models that can help doctors make a decision for individual patients. So you take the characteristics of a patient, you put it in a mathematical model, and the model predicts what happens to that patient. So our research made an overview of all models for COVID-19 that are available and gave a critical appraisal to each of them. The jury has recognized the innovativity of this work and the societal relevance of this work. It was largely unfunded work, so a lot of this has been done in our free times, in our evenings, in our weekends. So we could definitely use the support to keep that going, to keep investigating the literature that's available. But in the short term, there are also a few follow-up projects. We are going to test models in data from low and middle income countries where the pandemic is still ongoing. That's together with the WHO. On the other hand, we're also making a model for general practitioners that may keep seeing patients in the near future.
The jury evaluated the candidates based on the scientific quality and originality of their research, the interdisciplinary nature of their research, and the extent to which their research will make an impact. The jury found that Laura's innovative research directly addresses the most pressing societal problem of this time. Laura has managed to communicate her findings to the scientific community in prestigious, peer-reviewed journals, and to the public at large through various outreach activities. From initiative to innovation, from leadership to international and interdisciplinary collaboration, she embodies everything this award and Maastricht University stand for. Congratulations, Laura.
Now, as you see, both of them also received these statute certifications that go with it, but they are here with us, and I would like to ask the winners to rise for their well-deserved applause. Congratulations to Matteo Bonelli and Laura Wienans. Now, and to provide us with some music today, we have our local star, Stan Smeets, and his band Hard to Get, who took part also in The Voice of Holland 2 years ago. Now, Stan rose to fame in 2012 by winning the talent competition Kunstbende, and later performed also on national television in the Best Singer-Songwriters program, which is actually one of my favorites to watch, of the Netherlands competition. So we are going to listen to you on stage with your rendition of a hit song with an apt title, I can say, for challenging times. Here's Stan Smeets and his band with Roller Coaster.
There's a roller coaster life we know, with those crazy eyes and real deep lows. I really don't know why. I will go to the farthest place on earth. I know I can travel all the road you see, 'cause I know you're there with me. You don't have to slow me down, 'cause I will always be around. I will find my way back home, where magnolia grows, where magnolia grows. I will go. What I do and what I do and where I've gone, I try to fill that empty space inside, but I can do that without you. You're even with me in my dreams. Help me sail the seven seas. You don't have to slow me down. You're always there tomorrow. You're always there tomorrow. And here we go on this roller coaster life we know, with those crazy highs and real deep lows. I really don't know why, but I guess you know what I do and where I've gone and where I've gone. I try to fill that empty space inside, but I can't do that without you. Oh, I know, yes I know, can do that without you.
Dankjewel.
Thank you very much. We continue, eh? No, eh? No, later you will continue. Yeah, I can imagine after this 1.5 years, you long for stage time. Yes. Well, let's hope. Soon. Now, I proceed to the next prize. We have many prizes today, but now we are going to award the Hastings Prize for Science of this year, 2021. And that is also awarded to a very young, promising scholar at Maastricht University. Now, maybe also good to mention again that the Edmund Hastings Foundation aims to promote arts and sciences in Maastricht, in the hope also of furthering culture and progress through academic innovation. And we are also very happy that representatives of the foundation are also here. Also, when we awarded the 2020, the secretary of the foundation was there. So we have a very strong partnership already for many years. Now, the prize consists of an award of €15,000 to support the recipient's academic development. And the 2021 prize goes to a colleague from the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. And there were 6 nominations for the prize, and they were assessed by a jury comprised of the Dean of the School of Business and Economics, Professor Mulgaard, Professor Bruggen, and Professor Lettery, all from that faculty. And the jury decided to award the prize to a very bright lady, Kathleen Gabriels. A warm applause for her. And before I ask you to first the video.
My name is Kathleen Gabriels and I'm an assistant professor in ethics and philosophy of technology and also the program director of the bachelor program Digital Society at Maastricht University. In my research, I investigate the co-shaping between morality and new and emerging technologies. And one of the topics I have been working on is how we can teach morals to machines. If we want to build intelligence into a machine, it's also important to define intelligence. And when you look into the history of AI, you see that it's extremely difficult to define intelligence. And this is, of course, also a philosophical question. Among philosophers and so-called intelligence researchers, there's also no consensus on how to define intelligence. So we're not there yet, and we still have many fascinating years to come.
Now I'd like to invite Kathleen to come to the stage to collect your prize. Congratulations on behalf also of the board of the Edmund Hastings Foundation. Now, I had the honor to be with Kathleen on stage at the Science Evening in Amsterdam, where you also got so much recognition by the way that you perform also in this very difficult and actual topic. So well-deserved winner. You may also collect your own flowers and the sculpture that goes with it. And I'm not sure, is it also still possible to hold that one? Yeah, okay, wonderful. And then we're gonna make a picture again. Congratulations. Okay, well done. Well, thank you. Be careful with the stairs again. They're not female-friendly stairs this year. That technology still needs to incorporate gender inclusiveness, both in these things and stairs, but that's maybe for next year. Okay, now, my dear colleagues and students and partners, we are now going to the recognition of our students, because what is a university without our bright students? So I'm also very honored to reveal the 2021 Student Award. Now, with this award, assessed also by the jury members behind me, it's a lot of work, that's why we also portray their names. Don't underestimate the work that goes into assessing all these files of all the people that get acknowledged. But with this award, we recognize outstanding cultural or social achievements by students or group of students. And we assess that on the basis of a number of criteria, such as social and cultural impact, as well as sustainability of the initiative. Now, this year, we had also 6 nominations, coincidence with the previous, and 4 of them are with us here in the theater, and the other 2 are joining us online. Thank you also for being here, both online and in the audience. It's all working smoothly today. Here they are. And the 4, can you please rise? The 4 that are with us in the theater. Yes, wonderful. And the 4 nominations, I mean, because they comprise more students than 4. And we're going to first watch a video, and then I'm going to announce who has won, because they don't know yet. So this is exciting.
I'm European Coordinator at Universities Allied for Essential Medicines. We are an international student organization, and our goal is to increase accessibility to medicines worldwide. How do we do this? Well, first of all, we increase awareness. Second, we empower students to take responsibility and come up with new solutions to the problem. And lastly, we work together with universities to implement policies to make sure that the innovations they come up with are actually accessible around the globe.
Cosmopolitan Talks is an international podcast series aiming to cover the impact of COVID-19 on migrants and refugees worldwide. As the members are from all over the world and spread over 4 continents, we are conducting our meetings and projects virtually. However, even if we are separated, we have one goal, which is the main purpose of this project: to offer funding opportunities for free asylum seekers in Europe through the revenues of our podcast.
The Food Co Maastricht was founded by a small group of students who were looking for a grocery store in Maastricht that sells local, sustainable and accessible products. But we couldn't really find that here. So in the past 3 years, we have dedicated ourselves to set up a non-profit community grocery store, both for students and by students. We are growing every day and working towards our dream of eventually having a full-fledged shop open 7 days a week, run by our own members to bring delicious foods to the community of Maastricht.
I am the founder of the Legal Aid Clinic for Prisoners. The clinic consists of 2 limbs, namely the academic and the legal one. For the academic limb, we make sure to promote awareness on the rights of the individuals involved in the criminal justice system. As far as the legal limb is concerned, we strive to provide legal aid for all legal issues related to rehabilitation. Therefore, the clinic advocates for a continuum of socialization and promotes a legal culture of non-punitive ends.
We founded the ECA because we recognize how many students in Maastricht and in Europe want to pursue a career within the European Union institutions or related private sector companies. We want to bridge the gap between study and career, as well as between young European citizens and the Union. We provide the tools for students to succeed in their careers. We have partnerships with various EU agencies, as well as we've hosted various high-ranking EU officials at our events. We aim to create a community of supporters of the European project and to foster the introduction of a new generation of value-based European leaders.
Salam alaikum. We are Ramadan in a Box, intercultural Ramadan celebrations. Our goal was to bring people from different backgrounds together and to exchange food, laughter and culture. Normally Ramadan is all about bringing people together, but in COVID times that is of course difficult, but even more important. Therefore we came up with the idea to prepare food boxes which contained a recipe which a refugee had brought from his or her home country. Over the 4 weeks of Ramadan, we distributed more than 600 boxes and therewith reached more than 1,000 people in Maastricht and beyond. Together, we want to celebrate unity and diversity. Even in COVID times, we can share a meal together.
Ramadan Kareem, see you next year.
Let's give them another big applause. You can imagine how difficult it was to choose from this year 6 just so bright ideas, and I wish we could give you all the award. But of course, yeah, we had to make a decision, which I'm now going to announce. And I'm not going to watch in any direction, because then you already know what it will, who will not be the person. But the winner of the 2021 Student Award, the jury has chosen Vera. Yeah, she's she was already almost offline, and since she has such a beautiful last name, Vera, you should pronounce your last name.
It is Karagianidou.
Oh, and I practiced so many times, but I thought I'm going to struggle here. Vera, congratulations with winning this beautiful award, and we're so happy that you're live here with us on the stage. So let me introduce Vera a little bit to our audience, because, well, you've seen a little bit from the clip, but there's so much more to say, because Vera is the founder of the Legal Aid Clinic for Prisoners, which is a student-driven initiative supported by the Criminal Law and Criminology Department of our Faculty of Law. And the clinic aims to promote the protection of prisoners' rights and provide legal aid for all legal matters related to rehabilitation in, for instance, prisons in Roermond and in Sittard. And given that in the Dutch criminal justice system, legal aid is only provided when a complaint reaches a high degree of severity, Vera took the initiative to found this clinic, aiming to achieve a continuous interaction of the individuals involved in the Dutch criminal justice system and I think in particular also coming from you as a student, it shows also the importance of taking care of the rights of our prisoners in the prisons here in the Maastricht region. So thank you so much for bringing this initiative and also to making sure that it becomes sustainable, because that is one of the criteria that we have put, and we are very confident as a jury that it will continue also if you pursue your career, of course, elsewhere after you graduate here at Maastricht University. So we will make sure that you will receive both the certificate and also the statute that goes with it, but that will be arranged later on. And then also we might be able to send you some flowers for winning this award. Please, a final applause for Vera.
Thank you. If I may just say very quick, a big thank you to the Department of Criminal Law and Criminology of the Faculty of Law of Maastricht University for supporting the clinic from the very preparatory stages. Thank you to my team, Caroline, Pauline, Hawar, Konstantin, Pia, Julia, Chiara, Rachel, Letizia. You are an amazing team. UM Student Award Jury, thank you very much. This is a great honor. I would like to also congratulate all the nominees who have proven that resilience, vigilance, and solidarity remain in times of crisis. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay connected. Thank you very, very much.
No, thank you, Vera. Thank you so much. You can always see students who study at Maastricht University who do problem-based learning. They are very vocal, they know how to present, and this always makes me very proud as a rector. Okay, everyone, now it's time to become a little bit more formal, because today is also the day that we are going to honor an honorary doctorate and to confer this honorary doctorate to Professor Jaap van Dissel. Now, the Board of Deans of Maastricht University, at the recommendation of its faculties and after consultation with the University Council, has decided to award an honorary doctorate to Professor Jaap van Dissel. And we're first going to watch a small video before we start with this ceremony.
This year's honorary doctorate will be awarded to a scientist who has played a key role in the national public debate about the corona crisis in the Netherlands. Professor Dr. Jaap van Dissel, Director for the Center of Infectious Disease Control of the National Institute for Public Health and the Environment, and Chairman of the Dutch Outbreak Management Team, has proved that science is not only a matter of research and publications, but that it has an active role in society. Jaap van Dissel obtained his doctorate at Leiden University and is a highly regarded expert in the field of infectious diseases, in the Netherlands as well as internationally. He did a basic research fellowship at the Duke University Medical Center in Durham and the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory in New York, where he worked in the field of advanced bacterial genetics. Currently, van Dissel is Director for the Center of Infectious Disease Control, as well as Professor of Internal Medicine at the Leiden University Medical Center. His work during the COVID-19 pandemic focuses on a rational, practical, and methodical approach to the current health emergency, but also on meticulously explaining the scientific foundation of the measures advised by the task force in layman's terms. In doing so, he has made clear that contemporary science requires a multitude of talents and skills, like leadership and sharing knowledge, and should not be limited to the academic context. This honorary doctorate serves as a recognition for Jaap van Dissel's work in the public domain and for being a prime example of a modern scientist.
Professor Dr. Jaap van Dissel combined scientific work with an important role in a challenging time. The government leans strongly on the compass and beacon he provides in the control of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in this role, he reached a broad public with the scientific insights from the field of infectious disease control. Professor Jaap van Dissel showed an exceptional performance of authentic leadership and an authoritative representation of the science in society. And therefore, this honorary doctorate is very well deserved. And I'm truly grateful to serve as the promoter of this honorary doctorate.
May I invite Professor Jaap van Dissel and Professor Christian Hubbe, whom the Board of Deans has appointed as his supervisor. And may I also invite Professor van Dissel's daughter to come on the stage to assist in this ceremony, because as part of the bubble, the family bubble, you can come close to your father. Please come to the stage. So, Professor, if you go.
Dear Professor van Dissel, dear Jaap, the mythical hero Odysseus faced many challenges on his journey to Ithaca, his safe harbor. His sailors were engaged in a battle with Polyphemus, the Cyclops, and he was caught in a foul storm sent by Poseidon. And he also had to cover his ears for the evil song of the sirens. And also your journey to Ithaca, Professor van Dissel, was and still is ridden with challenges. In the beginning of these historic times, you suddenly found yourself at a position responsible for breaking the pandemic waves, in a central role in the heart of the COVID-19 control. And the government leans strongly on the compass and beacon you provide. Your expert opinion was followed, your expert guidance, although the unintentional handshake with Prime Minister Rutte, after announcing the farewell of handshaking, was the omen for the difficulty in changing the public's behavior. Science in the front line, nuance, uncertainty, and debate that is typical for scientific work had to compete with one-liners, with fake news and alleged certainty in talk shows. Challenging times when 17 million viral experts sing their siren song. And just as Odysseus, you probably had to put wax in your ears not to get distracted. As infectious disease experts, we never experienced so much daily attention for the scientific discipline of infectious disease control. Everybody now knows about transmission, about the reproductive number, or about source and contact tracing. And your knowledge transfer to society was impressive. Thanks to your regular technical briefings for the House of Representatives. And everybody admires you now for your clear and accessible public lectures, although it clearly happened in a political arena during times of elections, and questions asked by assertive politicians sometimes seem to resemble the struggle with the Cyclops. As one of the experts on board of the National Outbreak Management Crew, I experienced that you run a tight ship as captain on the helm. You managed meetings efficiently and effectively, which was quite a job, given the diverse characters on the crew, the diversity in stakes and positions, and the pressure at hand. When it was clear a proposition wouldn't make it, you trimmed your sail. But almost every week you delivered direction while the ship sailed with only partial visibility. You endured and found a steadfast and steady course in the waves of the pandemic. And we still need you, as the stormy weather from Poseidon is not over yet, and Ithaca is still to be reached. Prime Minister Rutte named you himself in his first historic speech on national television. He said, "The answer on all pending questions starts with the knowledge and experience of experts. Experts like Jaap van Dissel and his colleagues inside and outside the RIVM." A quote to be proud of, although you might be reluctant towards personal honor. When praised by fellow colleagues about this honorary doctorate, you immediately shared the honor with them. Yet today, you may enjoy this praise. Dear Jaap, you have shown exceptional performance of authentic leadership during a very challenging time, and you're a trustworthy representation of science in society, and therefore this honorary doctorate is very well deserved.
Please rise.
By the authority vested in me by law and in conformity with the decision of the Board of Deans, I hereby confer upon you, Professor van Dissel, the degree of Doctor Honoris Causa and all the rights deriving therefrom by law and tradition. As evidence of this, I present to you the degree certificate signed by the Rector, the Dean of the Faculty of Health, Medicine and Life Sciences, and myself, and affixed with the Great Seal of the University. And on your shoulders will be put the kappa, which signifies the honor bestowed upon you.
Wonderful. Now, Professor van Dissel, I remember when I called you, which was somewhere in the beginning of the fall last year, when we were just, since March, living in this COVID pandemic, and I informed you that we were going to provide you with this honor. And I remember very well your answer. I'm not sure if you still remember.
Well, no.
You said, Miss Rector, are you sure that you are going to do this? Because what if I will receive lots of criticism in the coming period, because we are still looking for all the parts of this very complex puzzle? And what if then already you have declared this honorary doctorate to me? It might harm your institution. And from that moment, I heard already, of course, lots of also good stories about your personality. We've already learned, of course, about your expertise and your leadership. But this is also showing the kind of person you are, that you first think of the reputation of this institution because you don't know what will happen. And I remember also my answer. I said that's part of science. So if critique will come, that is part of how we conduct science. So all of us are still very much supportive of you having this honor, and we are also very happy that you've accepted it.
Yeah.
Now, I've promised also over lunch that I would ask you some tricky questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
You're ready, yeah? And during lunch, it didn't really work to get the answers.
Well.
But we also said, let's keep it for this moment. But I think the audience would love to hear from you what, for you, was the most remarkable moment in the last 1.5 years.
Okay, well, that's very easy now, because that's
today.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, besides today.
But I guess, well, you know, looking back at 1.5 years of COVID, which basically are unprecedented times, also for the infectious disease community in the Netherlands, I think it's very much like our first lecture, actually, going outside your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. It's a bit scary, it's challenging, it's always interesting. And leading the outbreak management team group, which is basically how the infectious disease community organizes itself in times of crisis to advise to the government and the politicians and the public, keeping the compass. That's really the reward and the most challenging part of it. So I'm looking back to that with a lot of satisfaction. I'm sure we did a lot of things not correct, but if we wouldn't have done so, we wouldn't have tried enough. So I don't know. I think the whole period it has its highs and its lows, but on average, it's just like your previous lecture told us. It's the disruptive character and coping with that and keeping the compass, as Christian told us. That's really what keeps you going.
Keeps you going. But maybe then, if I may ask, because from that lecture, what inspired me as well is that she mentioned that we should learn how to disagree. And when she said it, I immediately thought also of the work that you are doing in this last 1.5 years, which also very much infringes upon your personal life, having all sorts of security measures, because we apparently nowadays disagree in a very vocal, aggressive way, which also shows the status of civilization, I would say. How is that for you? Your daughter was here on stage. This was something, of course, totally unexpected for you.
That's true. It's and it's not comforting, of course. I just hope that it goes away quite soon. But on the other hand, I try to keep, my distance to this whole problem and leave it to the others, and just do my work, which is, giving advice to the government, the politicians, indirectly the public. And also realizing perhaps that our work has shifted a lot. And obviously in the beginning, the politicians were very much focused on our findings. But now that we are in a quite different wave and stage of the outbreak, the societal impact becomes evident. I just want to stress that the OMT, the Outbreak Management Team, only gives a very limited view of the outbreak. And we need to expand the scope of advice. And so I think that people that become angry at individual members, I can really understand that because it had a lot of impact. But I think we should explain how it works, and then, well, maybe the dissentment is spread a little bit out. We'll see.
You hope that that part of the audience is also open to listen to that.
Well, that's always
that's
what
not
you
always
hope as
easy.
a rational person. Yeah.
Now, you may know that with the Dutch universities, we are leading the movement towards a different way of recognizing and rewarding achievements of our academic staff. And when we were discussing the honorary doctorate of that year, last year, you were for us the first that came to our mind, because you are also for us a role model of that whole movement. May I ask your view on that whole recognition and rewards program? Because you must have seen also some of the critique that the movement is getting.
Sure.
Do you see yourself also as a role model for us?
Well, I'm not sure I'm a role model for all different parts of science, but for infectious diseases, obviously, which is a disruptive event happening. I think as infectious disease specialist and community, we're very much organized already from the very start. And I think that the other scientific disciplines basically have to think and go in the same way, thinking what is the issue at stake for me personally as a scientist, and how do we organize to be able to give advice to the government. So it may be a role model, but I hope it will be used as a model for other disciplines as well, and to join in with the advisory role, scientific advisory role to the government, which is always as a trusted advisor or as an honest broker, so to speak, an important part of going in the right way with the Netherlands and Europe.
And you do that in an excellent way. Final question. Now, there used to be a time when you were a student, and we are opening the academic year also for our students. And when we were walking with the cortege to the theater, one student said, "Hey, that's that guy from television," and he was pointing at Professor van Dissel. Now, when you were a student, you probably never imagined you were going to be a VIP, famous Dutchman in this regard that you are now. What kind of advice would you give to our students that are starting their lectures? They're very excited to be back in our buildings. What would be your advice to them?
Okay, that's a difficult one. It's not something that you strive to do. It's, I guess it comes along and then you can fill it in. And the best way to do it is to stay authentic and not try and be someone else, really. That's the only advice I can give. Take your own talents and use them.
Use them. Thank you very much, Professor van Dissel, our honorary doctorate of this year.
Thank you.
Now, dear Martin, before you move on, finally, could you please come to the stage and allow me to add a few words? It's a different script that you have now. He hates this, by the way. Now, of course, everyone here knows that this is your 10th, and someone said this morning 11th, so we have some factual issues. 11.
I counted it.
You counted, it's 11. Okay, so this is a factual, okay. But anyway, it's your 11th and also last celebration of the opening of our academic year. Now, we all know that there will be a valedictory address by Martin in October, so we will not do that, of course, here, because that's the 7th of October. But we did want to make this also memorable for you, to have it on tape, that's always nice. So we also know how much you love the music that you are about to introduce. And that's why we would like to give you this very little present. It's not jewelry, it's not a marriage proposal. I can give it, we are in a bubble together. For 1.5 years we've been in a very bubble. So I can give this now to you. Because we see this also as our ode to the joy that you have brought over the last so many years, also before when you were a dean, to our university, featuring the last 10 renditions of one of your musical favorites. We've put it all on a USB stick, also with images of all the introductions that you gave to all those 10 years of different versions of the ode. And on my behalf and on Nick's behalf, we'll do it again on the 7th of October. We will miss you. We will miss you here on the stage, but we're also very happy for Bochum because they get the best president they could wish for. Now the floor is back to you.
Thank you. You can sit now. Thank you. Of course, no, this is great because I was just getting used to seeing Rianne on stage that I forget I have a formal role to play for the final time. It's actually the 11th time, and that is that I have to formally declare the opening, the academic year open. Otherwise, we'd all go home and couldn't go ahead. So hereby, this academic year is opened, and as I said, I will talk on the 7th of October to give my farewell lecture, so I don't want to say too much about it. But as you know, university presidents, they cannot do a lot. They're not dictators. They always have to ask and stimulate by, discussions and so on. But that one thing I really can say I did, that I said that we have this unofficial anthem of Maastricht University, the final choral of Beethoven's 9th Symphony, Ode an die Freude. And I said it would be nice to have it every year in a different musical style, in a different interpretation. And thank you, Rianne. Where are you? Oh, she's here. This is very nice, but we have also provided a video for you without my speeches, just with the music, which is more interesting, of 10 years Ode an die Freude, or if you want to say 10 variations, of more than 10 variations of Ode an die Freude. A world premiere, first time this is played, so please enjoy this.
Freude, schöner Goethe-Funken, Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten feuertrunken, himmlische dein Heiligtum.
Joyful, joyful, Lord, we adore thee. God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee.
Well, the nice thing is that most of the time you could recognize the melody and think, so the mission has been accomplished. It's a wonderful video, and thanks again. And Rianne, we like surprises, so why did you come once again on the stage? Because we have another surprise.
Last
and this one, I know about it.
Yes, this one is in your script. Fine, let's go
Is it
a
my
little bit
script? No, I said...
No, I will speak, but I mean,
yes.
It's in your script. But before we get to the refreshments, we now would like to invite a very, very special guest to come to our audience. It's not the new rector, because that's what everyone has been asking already this morning. No, it's an even more special guest. It is the Beadle of our university. Please, Len Kuppens, may I ask you to come forward? In the middle? Now, Len Kuppens has been the driving force between the many, many, many PhD defense ceremonies and the inaugural lectures and valedictory addresses that we've had at Maastricht University. And her loyalty and her tireless energy earned her also the 2016 Award, which you have to be nominated by your own team, which also says a lot about your leadership skills. But this is her last opening of the academic year, because you wouldn't say it, but she's going for retirement. And we tried to persuade her to stay on a little bit longer, but she has so many other hobbies that it's also time to say goodbye. Now, to mark the occasion, we, dear Len, we have the pleasure of handing you the Maastricht University Medaille of Honor, which is a special distinction which is awarded to employees of Maastricht University who've made an outstanding contribution to the name, recognition, reputation, and development of Maastricht University. So we are going to put the spotlights on you now, and as you know the protocol, you write them with us, you have to get your own certificate. I'll get the stick. So then at least I think it's more for you, by the way. He's going to be rector anyway. And I would love that you all give a standing ovation to Len Kuppens. Foto, moet je noemen. Heb je niet verwacht, hè? Moet je naar voren.
Is heavy. Yeah. No, I carry it for you today. Yeah, okay, maybe it's my new job. Who knows? Huh? Anyway, so this brings us really to the end, and you're allowed to sit down again, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to, on behalf of the Executive Board, Rianne Ledgert, Nick Bos, and myself, we would like to invite you to a reception outside in the theater. And please, it's going to be under Corona measures. It will be on both floors. So we can follow all the procedures of hygiene and public health. And it must be an immense pleasure for us that we could have the ceremony together with you. And Mamogeti Fakenga, you're still there? Maybe she had to move on to other things, but I think she did a wonderful job in explaining us that transformation and disruption depends on people. And the celebration was about people, and I think this is very important to keep this in mind for the future. So I would like kindly ask you to lead, it's very heavy, have Len lead the way and the cortege to leave the room first. And then please let the first row to follow, the professors, and then the rest to the doors on the back. And hereby, this academic session is closed. So cortege and Len lead the way.